You mentioned social media earlier. Let's talk about some roadblocks to skeptics from not using social media.
Right. Well, I mean, there's several, obviously. I mean, the first one, which has tended to die away a little bit, is that social media is a fad. And I think when you see mainstream brands embracing it so fully now, whether it's Walmart, Unilever, Procter & Gamble, Nike, Starbucks, you suddenly realize it's not a fad. Secondarily, I think people, for a long time, dismissed it on the basis of its most trivial use, in that it was just people tweeting about what they had for lunch. But really now, especially after what happened in the Arab world with, Libya and Yemen and Egypt and Tunisia and Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, you now realize that it's a very powerful force for transformation. And then thirdly, there are those critics still who suggest that it's really only generates weak ties that don't drive substantive change. For example, Malcolm Gladwell, of Tipping Point and, Outliers, has been very vocal on this basis. Yet I think, as we did see in the Arab world, it can be contributory to very real substantive change. So I think the fad issue, I think the substantive issue, and I think the demonstration of big brands using it has really overcome a lot of these big obstacles. You
mentioned that in the aspect of it being a fad, I could see these being missed, but how about actual roadblocks that would prevent somebody from using social media?
A lot of people will think, well, firstly, they don't have time. If you're a business person and your customers are now communicating in this way, if you don't have time for that, you don't have a business.
Right.
Secondly, if you're a non-profit and you don't have time to build a relationship on the basis of shared values with your community, then you're probably not doing it as effectively as you could. And if you're a consumer who is concerned about the many challenges our planet faces and wants to build a better future for their children and is concerned about the economy here in the US and overseas, yet you don't want to be more mindful in how you consume and to leverage technology to scale that, then again, you're probably not playing the fullest role that you could. So these roadblocks, I don't have time, or for example, how could my one tweet or my one Facebook post make any difference? Well, it really is the ability of these tools to generate a community, to facilitate collective action, to scale change by scaling the relationships between people. That's what makes social media so powerful. So I think, either time or impact, I think both those obstacles are overcome.
I like the idea of where social media is going in the aspect of many of the myths that have been put in front of us are starting to dissipate or disappear.
Right.
Can you identify some of the myths that have been there in the past that are going away and removing these time obstacles that you've mentioned?
Well, specific to the stage of adoption that we're at, which is pretty much this mainstream adoption by consumers and brands of social media, one of the big myths is that your engagement with social media should be measured by the number of fans or followers you have.
Right.
And really, that's not the case. The currency you're trading in is emotion. And really, it's about taking a long-term perspective on investing in your relationship with your customers and their community. Anyone can buy fans or buy followers, but if they're not willing to engage on behalf of the brand, if they're not going to change their thinking and behavior in alignment with the core values of the brand, it's really just window dressing, and no one has time or marketing dollars for that. And then also, I think the other big obstacle or myth was that there's no money in it. For a long time, people said, well, in the same way they talked about banner ads back in the digital revolution, where's the money in it? Now they're like, well, why on earth would my company send out tweets to strangers who I really don't know? Where's the ROI, the return on investment for that? And we now realize that the social capital a brand earns in terms of its reputation and how that enables a community of customers to then use word of mouth advertising to promote that brand on that brand's behalf is incredibly valuable.